Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. I'm recording from London now, so I'm in a different time zone, so this free update's probably going to be published a little bit earlier than previously. I didn't publish anything yesterday because New York was closed for Washington's birthday, and when the New York Stock Exchange is closed, generally the markets are pretty quiet. I haven't had a holiday in over 5 years, so I take those days when New York is closed as a bit of a break, and that's one way I'm able to sustain this workload for a long period of time. For the last few sessions, price has been moving sideways in a pretty small range with strong resistance about 53,000 and support about 50,600. We may have to revise or adjust the resistance and support areas of this consolidation as it continues, and now we need to wait for a very obvious breakout above resistance or below support. Above resistance, an upward session requires an increase in volume for us to have confidence in an upward breakout. We don't need to see an increase in volume on a downward breakout for a downward session, but if we do see push from volume on a downward session, it is really impressive. You don't need to see increased volume on a downward breakout in order to have confidence in it, because price can fall of its own weight, and that's a shorthand way of saying price can fall a considerable distance with speed due to a lack of interest from buyers, and it can fall just as quickly and hard due to increased activity from sellers as it can to lack of interest from buyers. So if buyers aren't interested in buying, then price will just fall until it meets them. That's why price can fall of its own weight. If we see an upward breakout, then next resistance is the previous all-time high. There's not a lot of congestion between this resistance here about 53,000 and next resistance at the previous all-time high at 68,700. So after an upward session, I would expect price to move quite quickly up to next resistance. We might see another pullback or consolidation at that next resistance before we eventually see a breakthrough. But if price just breaks through with strength, with push from volume, and closes to new all-time highs, that would be a strong upward breakout, and once that happens, I'd expect some energy to be released to the upside, and I'd expect Bitcoin to start to exhibit very obvious exponential growth with an increase in volume and momentum, and I expect at that stage it's going to start to make headlines around the world. If price breaks out to the downside from this consolidation, then look for next really strong support about 48,000. I did expect we were going to see some consolidation about 51,800. We are seeing some consolidation in this area. If we see a close below support at 50,600, then next support may be a test of this previous resistance, a back test of support before price then moves up and away, and that would be fairly typical behavior. So let's watch for the next few days the small zone of resistance and support and wait for a breakout, and we'll see if volume and on-balance volume can give us advance warning of what direction that may be. We've done that before with on-balance volume and it works really well. Get some free giveaways today to help you with your technical analysis. Click on the link below to go to my website and you can download one or more of these 3 giveaways. I have an ebook on technical analysis basics for you. These are the contents of the ebook, several chapters on some basics, some indicators, some techniques, looking at gaps, looking at scale for your charts, and I've even got 2 steps to a high probability trade setup there for you. Another free giveaway is this easy candlestick pattern guide to the major candlestick reversal patterns, bullish and bearish, diagrams, descriptions of how they should be read and in what context. And a third giveaway, I have this Elliott Wave structure guide, 3 pages giving you all of the Elliott Wave structures with all of the rules you need to know and diagrams of the ideal form for each. Motive structures on 1 page and all of the corrective structures on 2 pages. So click on the link below and get any one or all of these 3 giveaways for free. There was a little bit of a decline in volume. Volume was above average on previous upward sessions, but slight decline toward that last short-term high. So it's really unsurprising that we are getting some sideways consolidation, especially considering the weekend and then New York closed on Monday. This current session for the 20th of February, we are seeing a little bit of a push from volume, and the candlestick has a bearish upper wick. So we might be about to see a breakout below support and a back test of that previous resistance at 48,000. That is entirely possible. We can now draw a yellow resistance line for on-balance volume, but we can't yet draw a support line because there's only one pivot here, and you need to have 2 pivots and the minimum required anchor points for a trend line. Once we have 2 pivots to the downside, then I'll draw a support line and we'll start to trace out that resistance and support area for on-balance volume, and we'll look to see if on-balance volume might break out before price breaks out. When it does that, it gives us advance warning of the breakout direction for price, which is really, really good to have. ADX is still bullish. It's telling us there's an upward trend, which is just now extreme, but such a long way to go before it gets as extreme as it can for this market. If we do see another more time-consuming consolidation or pullback here, that may again bring ADX down and set it up again for another really strong signal. It gave us the strongest signal it can give, and it was very, very bullish back here. RSI is overbought, but it hasn't been overbought for that long and not as deeply overbought as it can get when this market has a strong bullish run, and there's no bearish divergence for the short term between pivots, but I will start to look for that over the next week or so. Money flow likewise reached overbought but doesn't exhibit bearish divergence. I need to wait to see pivots develop between price and RSI and price and money flow, and look at pivots in 2 different time spans apart and look to see if they have divergence. Wait for your pivots to develop before you identify divergence. That's a technique I use to screen out those times, those signals. When you expect there is divergence, then it just disappears and doesn't yield in anything. ATR was showing an increase as price moved higher. Very good to see some volume and volatility return to Bitcoin. The Elliott Wave count for Ethereum remains mostly the same, but I'm going to label now subnewet 1 complete at the high for 20th of February. Instead of micro 3 and 4 in here, I'm going to label micro 4 complete down here. And this has a slightly better proportion, a little bit of a better look, and it does look like we could have an impulse complete here, finding resistance just a little bit below the upper edge of this channel. I've shown you how to draw this channel before, but I'll just zoom out and show you again. Draw the first trend line from the low of 12th of October to the low of 25th of January, place a parallel high on the 9th of December. The upper edge of that channel is providing resistance. If subnewet wave 2 is a lot deeper than I'm expecting, look for the lower edge of the channel to provide support. This is a second wave at a low degree within a third wave at multiple degrees to the upside, so the strong upward pull of a third wave at least 6 degrees may force subnewet 2 to be more brief and shallow than it may otherwise be. So I am expecting a pullback for these markets, or consolidation, at this stage to continue for a few days, but I don't expect it's going to be particularly long lasting, and it may be remarkably brief and shallow. Technicals for Ethereum, it broke above what was resistance at 2,700, backtest of support, moving up and away. Next resistance identified at 3,580, it hasn't managed to get there. The 20th of February so far looks like a little bearish candlestick. We might be about to get another backtest of support about 2,700, so that may be where a backtest of support ends. Volume was pushing price higher, but a decline from the 14th of February to the 18th of February. There was a little bit of a decline in volume, a little bit of weakness at the last green candlestick, so we might be about to get a little bit of a pullback to test support again. The last signal from on-balance volume was a weak bullish signal, but then on-balance volume returned back below that line, which means we'd have to redraw the line like this. It's got an even steeper slope. I'm just going to get rid of it. The technical significance is just too low. I can't draw a resistance line to watch for on-balance volume at this stage. If we do get a pullback here, then I will see if I can start to draw a more technically significant range for on-balance volume and use it as a leading indicator. ADX tells us that Ethereum still is in an upward trend, a very long way from extreme. RSI is overbought, but there's no short-term bearish divergence. Money flows back into neutral. It did reach overbought, but not as overbought as it can get when this market has a strong trend. I still have the same 3 Elliott Wave counts for XRP. I'm just going to go over this one because the others just really have a low probability. I expect for XRP it's in a third wave at cycle degree, primary degree, intermediate and minor degree in the very early stages. Particularly early on in an impulse, don't expect price to move in a straight line. There will be consolidations and pullbacks along the way. Technicals for XRP, it broke above what was previously resistance, about 54 cents. It's in this area testing and moving sideways, testing support about 54 cents, and there's resistance about 56 cents here. So also for XRP, I expect we're going to see a consolidation. We need to wait for a breakout of the consolidation to have confidence in the direction of the next trend. If price has a clear break below support at 54 cents, then look out again for support about 0.4875. Next resistance above is 60 cents. A little bit of a push from volume today and a bearish upper wick on that candlestick, so expect some follow through. We may see a downward breakout for the very short term tomorrow. ADX is still declining, telling us that XRP has no clear trend. The previous trend was down and ADX reached extreme but not very extreme. RSI got pretty close to oversold too. Doesn't always manage to get oversold on a downward trend, so this is actually pretty bullish for XRP. The end of that downward trend, accompanied by a cluster of 6 hammer candlestick patterns, all bullish reversal patterns, tells me to expect it's more likely than not that that downward trend is over, and if we're going to see a little bit more downward movement here, it now looks more likely to be a counter trend movement and a new bullish trend. That's it from me today with your update for those three. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend.